Tarot, and in today's video we're going to be looking at what signs will show you you're on the right path. I don't know about you, but I'm all about this. I'm somebody who really gets a lot of happiness, a boost of confidence and energy, and just general motivation when I know, hey, am I wasting my time here or am I headed in the right direction? Now keep in mind you're technically never wasting your time because everything's always adding up to something that will benefit you later, help you go, okay, good to know. I know for sure this doesn't work out or this isn't where I'm meant to be, that kind of thing. However, it does feel really good, and like I said before, we all need that little extra encouragement along the way to be like, hey, am I doing the right thing? Am I going where I need to go? I have a couple of signs that I have worked out with my spirit guides, myself internally on a subconscious level, whether it be, particular numbers or synchronicities, whatever it may show up for me. And when I see these, there's this sense of like, wow, not only do I feel great, but I can keep going in this direction. I feel extra motivation to keep going. This also helps because keep in mind, not every journey has to be difficult or hard. If it is, that's okay. You're learning something. Trust me, it's going to add up in the long run. You're going to be very happy you have that under your belt. But keep in mind, always put out that mantra in life that it can be easy, it can be fun, it can be magical, it can feel within itself exciting. It doesn't always have to be the destination. Even the journey itself can be wonderful. Now, in addition to that, I want to let you guys know if you would like to support me. I put out exclusive content on my Patreon. I just posted 2 new videos over there. One is about guided meditation to connect with your best self. And that video is fantastic because it gets in a little bit into shifting realities and great for energy work if you want to truly understand what that means and start exploring that. It's not only wonderful to connect with your best self, but an exploration and a better understanding through experience. In addition to that, I also posted a video about how can I stop influencing my card readings for which I have a desired outcome. Loved this question because this question was asking something bigger, and we went into the whole topic of not only how to stop influencing your cards, because isn't that just the worst when you pull one card reading that you really, this is what you would like to happen, and then when it ends up happening, you're like, that didn't match up, and you look back later and you're like, oh, I was really focused on this. So not only does it give an answer for that, but it goes into understanding how when we ask these questions, we're actually opening ourselves up to be better card readers and even develop our psychic abilities even more. My Patreon's got tons of content like that. It has become very large with videos. I'm very proud over there. And by the way, for the people who have left very nice comments on my YouTube about how much they like my Patreon, I can't express enough. Thank you. I see it. It really makes my day. I'm so appreciative. Thank you. It keeps me working hard. But anyways, besides that, as you know, I have an intuition training course and a tarot training course. So if you're interested in going to the spirit realm, meeting your spirit guides, understanding how the physical and non-physical overlap as a bridge and how you can use it in your daily life. And in addition, if you're interested in just reading cards, getting right into it, simplifying the process, but not losing any of the details, those can be found all in the description below. But let's get back to our main question. We've got 4 groups in front of us. 1, 2, 3, 4. I want you to hold the question in your mind. What signs will show you you're on the right path? Take an exhale and pick the group that you resonate with most. I'm going to give you a moment to do so. Now that you've done that, you can go to the description where you can skip to your designated group. I love you to pieces. I just want to say that right now. And let's get started with group number 1. Group number 1. Let's find out what signs will show you you're on the right path by looking at the cards. We have 10 of Cups upright. 5 of Wands in reverse. Ooh, I'm being shown some interesting imagery with that one. 4 of Cups upright. 5 of Cups in reverse. Okay. And finally, the Death card in reverse. Okay. Give me one moment to look at these and consult my spirit guides. Interesting. These have similar energy. Or should I say perspective? Okay, let's get into this. This one's pretty interesting. One of the things I love about tarot the most, and I really love about simultaneously pulling tarot, using my own psychic abilities, as well as consulting my spirit guides, is you'll get some really interesting perspectives on how to read the cards. So for example, right here with the 10 of Cups, this traditionally talks about the idea of just like lots of happiness and bliss, like 10 out of 10, 11 out of 11 happiness levels type of thing. But interestingly enough, my spirit guide says it's solely focused on the cup. But that idea of the cup doesn't repeat over here and doesn't repeat over here for when we're talking about the sign. So just fascinating. I just love this stuff. So anyways, our spirit guide said that cups will be a predominant thing in the area of wherever you will be. So I was getting a lot of images like you stop by an antique shop because something pulls your eye and you're in there and you're talking to someone, right? And it ends up leading you into some form of like a conversation, if you will. You didn't go in there you went in there for one reason, you left with a better understanding of something else. It leads you somewhere. But when you're in that antique shop, again, this is just an example. This is the imagery I was being shown. There's like, next to you, there's like a teacup sitting for sale, and it should be like really predominant. The pattern really catches your attention. It's an unusual shape. This includes things also, not just like teacups. We're also talking about like goblets, anything that's, would hold liquid. Anyways, this is something that will show up predominantly and might potentially be the main focus in the conversation. So again, I was shown another image of like you're hanging out with a friend and they ask if you want to stay over. Maybe they give you like a cup of tea or something like that, a mug, you're both holding the mugs. Anyway, the point is it's something that's either very clearly the focus or it catches your eye predominantly enough. But when you see these very unique looking or predominant cups, it's a sign that you're in the right place at the right time, which is really interesting because sometimes you're just going to get signs that say like, hey, what you're doing is great, keep going, sweetie. I always think of that meme. But sometimes it's like, hey, this might seem really random, but right now, this conversation you're having, it might seem insignificant. Pay attention. You're learning something, you're gaining something of value, you're understanding something. This little impulse you felt when you went into the antique shop, again, that example, that was the right impulse. And something just to clarify as we go later on, in the way you develop your just general psychic abilities and in general your intuition and your connection with the universe and better understanding yourself is you pay attention to the subtleties that are actually more important than you may realize, and then you replicate them by giving them importance and paying attention to them. So example, when you go into the antique shop, as we just said before, you would say, wow, I'm having a conversation that then led me in this direction I wouldn't have gone into if I hadn't had this conversation with this person. What did it feel like when I had that pull, that impulse from being pulled in there? And how can I get better at paying attention to that sensation? Because the way that it feels for you is going to feel different for someone else. And this is where it gets more unique. You'll over time notice that feeling of that pull, that sensation, sort of slightly different depending on the circumstance, whether it be like one pull is for intuition One is for locations, one is for people. Sometimes it's a warning. Sometimes it's similar to certain manifestation energies. Sometimes it's similar just to understanding you need to be there for something else. You get what I'm saying here? You pay attention to it, and the more you pay attention to it, the more you can tell the difference, and the more you then can be able to use that as sort of a navigation inner compass system. So anyways, cups. We got that covered. Cups covered. Now, this is where it gets interesting again. So the Five of Wands traditionally talks about the idea when it's upright. It talks about people fighting in discourse. And when it's in reverse, it's this idea of it ending. Ending because maybe you have to walk away. It's a bit of a negative walk away type of feeling. But anyways, in this particular case, my spirit guide said it actually has nothing to do with fighting at all. It talks about groups of people. Now, I was being shown an image of you walking into a building and a lot of people leaving it. And as you walk in, it's really empty. There's only like a few people. So it's this idea that you're just, again, you're heading to whatever location you're heading to, but you clearly notice that people are no longer there. They're leaving. You're realizing that as you're entering, maybe a meeting is exiting, that type of thing. But you're very aware of the disproportion of how many people were there. They're gone, and then when you get there, again, you're going to be aware of them leaving, is what I'm saying. You're going to then notice that it's very empty, and it's just kind of like you or one other people. So very fascinating. I love that. And also very noticeable is the biggest thing I noticed when I was being shown images about it. Like it wouldn't be like 3 people leaving. It would be like 20 people leaving. It's going to be very intense. Let me just ask my spirit guide really quickly if this is a location thing, or if this is just like a general sign. I mean, it's both signs, but is it a sign you're in the right place, or is it just like a sign? Ooh, I see. I'm glad I asked. They said it's just a sign, but they said it represents this idea that you're heading in a location other people aren't looking. It's like they aren't on the sort of intuitive level you're at. It's kind of like when people get brilliant ideas and then, you know, make a lot of money off of them because nobody else has thought of it before, because nobody else thinks to look there. It's like you're looking there and everybody else just can't see it, but you can. It's very obvious and very thrown in your face. Love that. Now we have the Four of Cups, which this is really interesting because these two are actually very, I guess you could say, related to one another. There's a heavy relationship between the two of them. They are two separate signs, and sort of, while it might be an evolution of this card, they are still separate circumstances. And it gets even more interesting because in the Four of Cups, my spirit guide was very clear that it talked about sadness. But if you're familiar, and again, we're just talking about this if you're a fellow tarot reader yourself or you're enjoying my tarot course, we're talking about how we're getting to these conclusions. Normally, this card is more about apathy and boredom. And over here in the Five of Cups, this one's more predominantly about grief and that type of thing. But interestingly enough, I'm being told this one is about sadness. And while this one also is about it, you'll see what I mean in a second when I talk about it. It's focused in a different way, but we're looking at the imagery, and then you might say to yourself, well, then why is this card about that rather than what this traditionally is meant to mean? It's because we want to look at the imagery of the card, and this is how my spirit guide was expressing the idea. So they said, you're going to have a moment where you're going to get pretty blue. It's going to be, it's going to be one of those moments where we've all had them, where we're kind of at our wit's end, if you will. I don't want to say you're at your wit's end, but it's that sensation where you feel kind of hopeless. It's just a temporary moment of being like, what am I doing? What is this all for? Am I even making the right choice? But you're kind of just being like, you know what? I'm facing these inner thoughts and inner doubts I'm having. So it feels very intense. But here's the thing. Look at how the mermaid right here is sitting here, and back on the horizon, she has a clear view of the estate. When you go into this state of mind, it's going to force you to reevaluate what it is that you truly want. And here's where it gets really interesting. Let me just double check with my spirit guide real quick. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, it's not that you're changing your whole goals, if you will. It's your perspective. And it's so interesting. Viewing things slightly different can change the manifestation process as a whole. I think it's so fascinating. But anyways, so what will force you to do is look at your goal from a sort of wider landscape perspective. And it will force you to stop getting hooked on or sad about whether or not there are in the moment instant rewards. So example, let's say you in the long term, actually, you know what, as a goal, we'll say buying a house. That's a perfect example. Let's say you want to buy a house. What a lofty goal if you own your own house. Good for you, you did it. That's a big deal. If you don't, that doesn't make you any less. But let's say that's your goal and you want to move towards that. So in the process, you're starting to get caught up because either people are, somebody else gets a house application before you, or you saw a house and the next day it was sold and you didn't even get to look at it and you feel like you missed an opportunity, or little things like that. Maybe you were trying to go go to the bank and get a loan, and then what ends up happening is along the way there's a lot of distraction or discourse and you're just not able to do it, and you just feel like things are in your way, that type of thing. That's like getting hooked on the instant, like where is it going? This is bringing me down. I didn't get the thing I wanted. I didn't get the instant reassurance or reward. And that's you focused on those little things in the moment. And being in this state of mind forces you to be like, well, what's the biggest picture of all? And just really putting all of your energy and attention and focus towards it. Because remember, yes, of course, again, in this version, you want the house, but many times while we have it in a state of our mind, maybe a certain percentage of our energy is focused on the if or it is not and how it is working presently, and then getting caught up in that emotionally. And while we still are focused on the goal, maybe we're only 10% focused. This is like you re-looking at the picture and being like, you know what, I can see myself in that house. I can see myself, by a fireplace or whatever, maybe big windows, maybe you're by the beach, and you're just really seeing yourself, imagining it, and you kind of get revitalized, re-motivated, re-inspired to then be like, you know what, I still really want this. When I see that, that's what I want. That's where my focus is. Maybe the refocusing makes you realize you were settling, and that all of the sort of little things that were not happening for you, or you weren't getting the kind of rewards you wanted in the moment, were to remind you that you need to dream fully, not partially, not settle, if you will. And then what happens is you end up getting refocused, and it helps you in that process, not only from perspective, which we're going to come back later here and here, but in general, the focus helps the manifestation process. It helps you bypass those, what your brain initially tells you are obstacles. And it also sort of clears a path, because you're saying, this is what I want. I'm not focused, I'm not trying to ramble here. Let me just make the final point about this. It's like, if there's like a little obstacle in the way, like again, what we're talking about, if you're constantly putting your attention there, you're saying to the universe, there's always obstacles in my way. But when you're really focused on the house, you're like, this is the image I have. I know I'm going to get there. That's just a way to better explain that horizon concept. So again, you feel down, but it forces you to relook and recalibrate, and it's ultimately a blessing. Actually, I think this is a fantastic example of how our emotions, I know we always talk about high vibrational energy here, but here's the thing, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Feeling emotions like sad or angry or whatever does not pull you away from yourself, your spirituality, your path, anything. You never know how these inner sort of systems are guiding us and pointing us in the right direction. You actually are functioning beautifully, and your inner self is trying to tell you something and trying to pull you out of your head, have you look at something in a different way. And this is a great example of how it is in fact a helpful and positive thing. So going on, let's go on to our Five of Cups here now, just for this to make more sense, I'm going to turn this around so we can show the imagery of the card, because again, the imagery is important. So after you're feeling better and you're refocused on what you're doing, there's going to be a time, and I'm going to just double check one more time with my spirit guide. Okay, lots of people. Okay, so I was just making sure it was like a time period thing. There's going to be a time period after you feel better and your eyes are on the prize that people around you are going to want to try to pull you down. Now, what I mean when I say this is a lot of people frustrated that you seem focused and happy. They want to complain. I get less of a complainy vibe, to be honest with you. I'm just using that as an example, and get more of a they're pretty blue themselves. They're in a bad state and they're frustrated you're not focused on the same melancholy stuff that they are in and they're focused on. So as they're in that state of mind and pulling your attention there and trying to get your attention there, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to gather my thoughts. This is you being conscious that you have a choice and sort of redirecting your intention, and also actively choosing not to give in emotionally, where they're being like, and so through their actions and words in so many ways, they're saying, look at me, get caught up in what I'm caught up. How are you possibly happy? I'm not happy. I'm going to pull you in with me. And this is you being like, that's nice. I'm good, no thank you. And over here we have the redirection of where think of the moon and the dove as this example of like you focusing your energy of where you really want to go. But again, it's a very conscious thing. It's like you can see, how do I say this? When we're in certain states of mind, like higher level of thinking, like higher self type of energy, it feels different to see how people emote than in another state of mind. It's like you can see that there's a choice for you. You can see how they potentially could redirect themselves and how they are expressing themselves and how they're unaware, but you feel very aware. It's a very self-aware type of mentality you're in. And this is you really seeing where you've come from in your own state, where they're at and where they're handling it, and realizing that while you might feel for people or it's tempting, and the thing when I say that terminology, you feel like you want to give 2 cents of how they feel, you want to be there for them, but you can tell they're just really more interested in pulling you in, and you just saying, you know what, I think I'm gonna choose to focus I'm allowed to be happy, I'm allowed to have my dreams, and I see where you're at, but I don't have to also be there too. We're different individuals. And so when we have this in reverse, this is you not getting caught up in it actively and being aware of that. Very interesting energy to see. So anyways, going on, we're going to pull this card also upright so it makes more sense through imagery. As you can tell, she is holding this little angel. And now the thing that's interesting here, and this is why it's so lovely to consult your spirit guides, initially I would perceive this through her facial expression as she seems quite somber. I don't know if you see it. I see it. She looks quite somber, but I was told that's not important. She's not somber. Instead, this is about her focusing on taking care of the little angel. But the little angel is really focused on the butterflies and things outside of the circumstance of their caretaker. So this is where it gets really interesting. So think of, and I'm going to do the best I can because I've been talking a lot, but I'm trying to remember everything my spirit guide was telling me. When we look at it in reverse, it is us more taking on this energy. And what do I mean by this? This little angel is the representation of the concept, the idea that you want to have happened. And when it's in reverse, it's you entering that state of mind where, hold on, I'm trying to put these words together. I know how to say it. Thank you for being patient. I needed to sort out my ideas. So this is you saying, like, let's say the concept is as an example, maybe you want a job. We'll just say it's a particular job, right? And your eye's on that prize, right? But this is the job looking out, saying, if we thought of the job as its own entity, what would it need? What would it need to function best and exist? And so when it's in reverse, this is you realizing and coming from that perspective, and not just solely focus on, you want the job, you want to see, you want to have that opportunity, you want to take place, but getting in that state of mind of going, what would the job want? And then therefore, because you're aware of what it wants, giving that and then focusing on those attributes to feed what the job wants. It's actually a really interesting concept when we think about it in a metaphorical way, or kind of thinking of an abstract way of how to manifest differently. So example, you're not just focused solely on what you want, but if wherever we put our attention, we're essentially feeding it, whether that be towards ourselves or dreams or whatever. But if this dream it's its own entity, again, as we're expressing, and we're feeding it, then therefore we're creating a path towards it and a mindset, and we're opening things up and then bringing it close to us, then purely putting out a I want it vibe. We're saying like, we get it, we're connected to it, we're putting attention towards it, and we're sort of attracting it to us and vice versa. So I love that. But again, it's you gaining that perspective and that mentality. The sign is here, you saying, I see that I want this thing. What would that thing want in order to exist best? Getting in that mindset and then practicing those things. So again, just a reminder, we've got cups, crowd dispersing. Over here we have not feeling great, but then gaining a different perspective of our long-term goals as a horizon type of view, and seeing the bigger picture and what we truly want, not settling. Over here, this is you being able to witness how people are feeling, but not getting distracted off your course, and really being able to observe everyone, including yourself, and how you feel, and being able to really feel this sensation of like, wow, I really can choose. I feel like I'm in control and I can choose. And then choosing, so it's the seeing it, it's the awareness, it's the choosing. And then over here, it's gaining a different mindset and then practicing things from that mindset. So I love this for you. This is all wonderful. I think this is all fun, because part of it is signs that involve things that you can physically see, but some of it is states of mind you're in, and it makes you aware of, it makes you view the universe a little bit different way when that is also counted as a sign. So anyways, please leave this video a like, comment, subscribe. I'm wishing you the best. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And let's get ready for group number 2. Group number 2. Let's find out what signs will show you you're on the right path by looking at the cards. We have the Star card in reverse. You have the Death card in reverse. The Chariot in reverse. Ooh, I love these two together. This is beautiful. Also, I see a theme already happening. We have the Hangman in reverse, and we have, ooh, interesting. Okay, so we have the Justice card upright. These 4 cards together, I'm already seeing something happening here. But this one's surprising. I'm really curious what it means. Give me just one moment to look at all the details and consult my spirit guides. Interesting. Okay, let's get into this. Okay, so first let's start with the Chariot in reverse. The way that the Chariot is interacting with the cards around it is important. So in reverse, typically, the Chariot depicts somebody who's lost. They're confused about which path they should go, essentially. And it's very on the nose with how it interacts and goes into these other cards, which is a bit of a progression, with you will, because each one is representing a sign, but it is also representing how this one concept sort of gets evolved upon. So it's both in turn signs as well as an evolution and fine-tuning, which I think it's really amazing that they're one and the same. I love that. But then also over here, the imagery is really interesting and super on the nose with the way the imagery of this in the death card, this individual is moving away. So it's like if this person's initially lost, this is when they're found, which we're going to go into in a moment. But anyways, so first we got this individual who doesn't know where to go. Now, they are stuck in a sort of black and white mentality, wrong and right, good and bad, it is or it isn't. But here's what's really interesting in life. And I mean, I say from my own personal experience, to be honest with you, sometimes it's frustrating to hear when you aren't where you're at in life, where you want to be at life, or you're just frustrated about certain goals you're trying to reach or something like that. To be told by whether this be a loving peer or your spirit guides and stuff like that, of just being like, you're exactly where you need to be, can be pretty frustrating, because you're just like, well, that's great. I don't feel that way. But unbeknownst to you, sometimes you sort of need to go in a direction that's not necessarily bad, but might in the moment feel uncomfortable, to better understand something that you wouldn't have learned if you didn't go in that direction, that will then be helpful and something that you use going forward. So when we're in this mentality, when we're saying we're feeling lost, so this is some of the signs: you're feeling lost, you're feeling like you're viewing things in that sort of this is what it is or this is what it isn't type of way. The thing is, you're sort of destined, if you will. We definitely got the star card here. You're destined, if you will, to move past this mindset and being able to see all the different paths or concepts or perspectives, if you will, of any given situation. Now, I want to be clear here. This is not about becoming ambiguous with your perspectives. You are allowed to have a definitive opinion. But here's the thing. When you're only seeing it's this way and it's not fair, or this is what it is, or this is what it is and I got it, and I'm excited about it, I'm glad it didn't turn out this way, you're not allowing yourself to essentially, not only through mentally the way you're seeing it, but spiritually, cosmically, and manifestation-wise, opening up multiple paths. You're saying it's this path or this path. These are the only two options I'm allowing the universe to allow things in my life. And by opening your perspective and being able to see all the different reasons why things could have worked out or didn't work out, or where people are coming from, and all the different concepts and ideas, you're not only telling the universe, I am open to receiving what I want, however I want, or go in the direction I'd like to go into. Anyway, I am open to it, and therefore, because you are, things happen quicker. Things can happen in magical ways that you didn't even know were an option, that are even better than what you initially had perceived. But again, it's not about becoming ambiguous with your feelings. It's still about being clear about how you feel about a situation. However, multiple things can be true at the same time, which is really interesting. And again, having that declarative, like, I see where they're coming from, I see it, but that doesn't mean this person didn't, this is where they're coming from. And looking at the situation as a whole, this is understandable. But in the end, being able to say, okay, I've seen all the different perspectives, but by seeing all the different perspectives, maybe in that pursuit of seeing it, I see another option altogether. Like a good example would be, let's say you're trying to get a job, and it's between you and somebody else. And there's this frustration that maybe they'll get it, or maybe they do get it, and you're just like, that's frustrating. I was going to get the job or not get the job. But then you start to think about the different perspectives. Well, what would it take to get that job? And you think about how maybe there's certain attributes that other person saw in that other person. While that might be frustrating, that doesn't mean that, maybe it's just not the best fit. Maybe in the end, that boss wouldn't have been very kind to you, or maybe it wouldn't have been naturally tailored tethered to your gifts. And so therefore the job would have been really difficult and laborious, and you're ultimately going to be happy in the end it didn't work out. And here's another, again, we're talking about all the perspectives. Maybe this was meant to be to therefore get your mind out of this perspective and open up therefore a path for a better job that you want. But it's hard to see all those possibilities and just be in that sort of open mindset if, again, you're very much focused on this or this or this isn't. So the sign is, initially, you're feeling lost, you're in that headspace, and you start to exercise being able to see things in different ways. The getting lost is not derailing you off the path, but sort of saying, hey, you can't go forward down this path with this mindset. You're not going to love all the results that you're feeling, both good and I don't want to say good and bad, but like what you're happy with and what you're not happy with going forward. So we're sort of taking a pause to reevaluate, so our paths become more intricate and optional and more in our favor in ways we hadn't even thought of. So going forward, that then leads us to over here. Now this again is another sign through a mindset, because interestingly enough, not all signs have to be tangible. Again, when we talk about viewing multiple things being true, seeing the wider perspective, why would you only want to receive signs one way, just a tangible way? You know what I mean? Sometimes they can be abstract, sometimes they can be through feelings or emotions or reactions, and I think that's fantastic. Now going on, the next sign. This is when an individual, or you, is untangling themselves, gaining a new perspective, which we talked about gaining that new perspective here, but this is the important part my spirit guide said. It's you being able to consciously unentangle, I don't know if that's the word, detangle yourself from the temptation of certain thoughts and certain ideas or certain situations. And what does that exactly mean? So sometimes there are just maybe there's just somebody's having a conversation that's just too good. You want to get involved. You want to give your 2 cents. But unbeknownst to you, you're sort of getting pulled into the daily dramas of life, and it ends up distracting you from a certain headspace that would create a greater flow of manifestation towards your way. You're sort of focused on what isn't working because you're caught up in this conversation, but it's just too exciting to not get into. You can't help it. You have a perspective. You'd love to give your 2 cents. Or maybe it's just too tempting to, when you see somebody trying to kind of poke at you, if you will, and get you to have a reaction. You can't help but want to, say your opinion, tell them off. But in reality, if you were able to realize that you can easily ignore it and then not get caught up in emotion that will last the rest of the day and sort of, again, derail you, pull you away from certain perspectives, get you caught up in mindsets that are not your ultimate goals, you know what I mean? This is you being able to see those ideas, realize, I don't have to engage in them. I see them. I do want to give an opinion. I do want to give a reaction. I do want to get involved. But it's that asking of yourself, saying, if I'm going into this, is this going to lead me down a headspace where I'm going to be still very focused on things that I particularly want? And remember, we're focusing on this very largely. This could be a partner, this could be a job, this could be feeling more confident of yourself. Is this going to put, so example, let's say you want to attract somebody else, whether this be friendship or otherwise, and you want to, when you want to be with this other person, you want to feel like your best self. At the end of this conversation, you're sort of being drawn to give a reaction to, talk and give your 2 cents to. Is this really going to make you feel like the best version of yourself? Is this the best version of yourself? That's a good example of that. And this is you really from this perspective, seeing the wider sort of conversation. We were talking about all the different viewpoints. This is you being able to identify when those moments happen and when you feel like you can say no and potentially should say no. Again, this is not negatively talking about a general idea of when people are, gossiping and stuff like that. It's more just you can feel in the moment when to engage and when not to engage. That's a good way to put it. So anyways, this is you being able to identify it And with your new perspective, easily not engage with it and actively not engage with it. Again, it's a sensation, it's a realization, it's a moment of like, wow, I can see this and I'm making choices. That's your sign. Now going forward, again, you can see where this evolution is getting tailored as we get over here in the Justice card. Now this is really just so interesting. So eventually, because you're seeing all the different sides and you seem to be destined to continue to grow as the loving, kind individual that you are, it seems that you get to a certain point where while a lot of paths are flowing your way, it's like you're so aware of all the good things that can happen to you and you're receiving them and you're seeing them that it starts to kind of get you into a headspace. While good intentioned, we're going to discuss it in a moment. This talks about the idea of fairness. You might say to yourself, is it fair that I get this job opportunity? They seem like they really need it. And maybe I can get, a job somewhere else. And is that right? And am I more deserving than them? And it's that fairness mindset you're really contemplating. You're seeing all the different perspectives. But again, we talked about how it's not about becoming lost in ambiguity. But here's the thing that's really interesting. So my spirit guide said that it's about overcoming this fairness. That, again, there's almost again, when we talk about this mentality of like, this is what it is and this is what it isn't, that two-way streak rather than all the perspective, who says it's fair and not fair? And we're going to go a little bit further than this. My spirit guide said, who said they're not being taken care of? Who said that now, when we talked about in the first instance, the idea of someone else getting the job and not you, who said that when you got the job, you're not the perfect fit and that it's a blessing they didn't get the job for them? Who says the universe isn't taking care of them? Who says that you need to be responsible for that? And this is a bigger question. It's a really interesting way of realizing and asking yourself the question when you're in this state of mind of saying, why aren't you allowing yourself to have whatever this is fully? Because people sometimes put abstract blockages in front of them. So it's not always simply creating a lingo that says some form of a wall. Sometimes you're not even aware of how you're creating a sense of limitation in your life by saying, everyone else, feeling guilty, everyone else should get this but me. But what about this? And that type of mindset, unaware that it's like, well, who said that they're not going to be okay? That's beautiful that you're thinking about other people, and that's beautiful that you're thinking about the bit grander picture. But it's about pulling yourself from that headspace altogether. You pulled yourself out of this perspective. It's about naturally progressing into it, and then again, pulling yourself out of it. But you already know how to pull yourself out of those perspectives as we talked about over here. So again, the sign is suddenly being in that perspective and then doing, and this is what I love, it's sort of one final clearing out abstract, what you might not have realized, blockage out of the way. Again, we talked about the blockages, the getting into that headspace. But again, it's the realization that each stage is a different level of a part of yourself that you're addressing, didn't know it was there, facing it and removing it, facing it and removing it. And you're basically just not only moving forward down your path, but you're making that path wider, more varied, giving yourself all the possible options and asking the questions and basically clearing out in a way that, again, like I said, these things are so sort of not conventionally what people speak about. You might not have been aware of them. Again, they're not negative, they're just different ways to address and face them. Now, last and final, when we talk about these are the major signs in their evolution. Very fascinating. I loved that. We talked about this individual being lost for a second to think about it. This is about you finding it. You're in that flow. So as you can see, they're facing one another. Now, the thing that's interesting here is these are more confirmation cards than additional signs. So what I mean by that is when you're pulling a tarot spread, and sometimes you'll get cards that are redundant or just sort of saying the opposite. Back in the day when I was not I was speaking to my spirit guides, but I'm not as so in communication as I am with them directly now, and not like I was so deeply self-aware about it. this would be like a sign to me of being like, oh, my spirit guides are listening to me. They're really confirming what I'm saying. And that might have been true then. But now when we're evolving as readers, so do the meanings of the cards. So these are confirmation cards to talk about a general perspective that you're going to realize and tap into by the end of it. It's not just saying, hey, guess what? Everything's going to seriously work out. This is all going to work out. You're going to be able to see these signs. You're going to be able to connect to these ideas. You're going to progress beautifully. It's going to happen. It's extra confirmation that it's going to happen. Very on the nose, which I love. But also, it has a different sort of bigger general idea that you're going to take on by the end of this. So over here, we're going to turn these cards upright. In the Death card, we have sort of a skeleton, if you will. But we're going to view him instead as the purest version of yourself, the inner core of yourself. Because in reality, we have that truly nothing's, everything's perfect. We're completely whole beings inside of us, deep within us. And then we have a bunch of layers outside of us of how we view the world, how we react to it, our individual selves. So inside yourself, you've really sort of cleaned it out, if you will. You've really gone in deep and reconnected to that, really gotten in sync with that by the end of all of this. Again, this is sort of where you're heading. But if we look at this golden armor, we could view it as your new layers. You've redefined how you interact. You've redefined how you perceive things. You're going in a new over here, as you can tell, this individual did not have armor. They needed to, or we could view their just, general, bodysuit, if you will, as their original armor. And this is sort of you being stronger than ever because you've recalibrated it, if you will. Now, as you can see, they're heading right into the Star card. Star card is beautiful. It's just full on, super on the nose, talking about destiny, being on the right path, all that good jazz. But what's beautiful is sometimes when we're reaching towards wherever we want to go, we don't realize that our destiny and wherever we're heading is actually reaching back at us. And by going through all of this and opening your mind up through the different signs and the evolutions, this is you, by the end of it, really realizing and connecting to the idea and feeling that path, that where you'll end up and where your dreams and hopes are, is actually reaching back at you. And the more you're deeply conscious of this and feel it, and I'm telling you this right now, as you grow as an individual in your just general abilities, it is something you can actually feel. You can feel you're being pulled there. The more you're feeling it, you're sort of expediting the way you manifest, the way you go down your path. Because it's more than a pursuit now, it's sort of magnets coming together. And because, like we talked about the perspective here, you're gaining the bigger perspective, so you're gaining more possibilities through your just mentality. Over here, by being so aware that it's something that's reaching back at you, that it wants you just as much as you want it, you then basically feel this sense of drawn together. You feel this sense of trust in it looking out for you. You feel this sense of it wants to be connected to you as much as you want to be connected to it. Again, we're describing it as sort of like a being, if you will, but you get what I'm saying. So I love this. Just a lot of growth, a lot of being able to be aware of your environment, a lot of beautiful evolution, but being able to address things that, to be honest with you, I'm always struggling to find the right way to explain it, and this was like a perfect way to explain this, such an abstract form of blockage that people aren't always aware of. So I love this for you. No more blockages, growth, connection, destiny, all that good jazz. Please, if you like this video, leave it a like, a comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. It helps out my channel like you would not believe. I'm wishing you the best. I look forward to seeing you in the next one, and let's get ready for group number 3. Group number 3. What signs will show you you're on the right path by looking at the cards? We have the Hermit in reverse, the Queen of Cups in reverse, the Nine of Wands upright, the Queen of Pentacles in reverse, the Seven of Cups in reverse. Oh, and another Queen of Pentacles. 2 Queen of Pentacles. Important. You know, before I even get into consulting my spirit guides and looking at the details, I already know that this is a focal point. I can already see it. Both psychically I can see it. Like it's sort of like, it's almost like the card calls to me is the best way I can explain it. And I'm definitely seeing from the way the cards are interacting with each other, sort of kind of going in this direction. It feels super important. So I'm just, so the cards can fit on the screen better, but also I can tell this is a focal point. So I'm just going to put this here as a way of calling our attention to it. But if you're a tarot reader yourself or you're learning to, fun thing to do, I highly recommend when you're reading the cards is like you'll take a card and if you need a reference, you just put it at the bottom. It's like saying, I'm talking about this. These are interacting. And it can kind of, how do I put this? Focus your attention of what's referencing what and make picking up subtext and context a lot easier. It's sort of like a scrapbook, if you will, of the cards. Anyway, so going back on to what we were doing, just give me one moment to look at everything and get the rest of the information. Yeah, I was right about that. Oh, interesting. Okay, let's get into this. So this is really cool because not only are we talking about signs, and this is what I love about tarot. Tarot will give you what you need, not necessarily what you want, but you don't know you want it. Does that make sense? So what I love about it is tarot will often bring in additional information you weren't even asking for. So while we are talking about signs, it actually talks about sort of an endpoint, what it's all building up towards in context. And I love that. So let's start about a bit of that endpoint, if you will. So there's going to be a point, and again, this is a sign within itself, but it feels like towards the end type of concept, where you're going to have to sort of let go, if you will, and have this deep trust that the rest is going to work itself out, that the universe has got you, it's heard, what you're manifesting, you've put your intent out there, you've done everything that you need to do, and now it's time to just step back and have a certain level of trust. That idea of trust and letting go and feeling connected with yourself or the universe, whatever you vibe with, and the process itself, that's the main thing with this Nine of Wands, is the idea of trusting the process, and that you don't need to know every little single bit of the process to get to the end point is really interesting, because I find when just you're living life, not only through my own personal experiences, but when I've been there with other people as they've had their own personal breakthroughs, it's so interesting how life will put you through a time period where you're doing one thing and then you're doing the complete opposite at another point in your life. And that idea is going to get referenced over here with our Queen of Pentacles when we get to that. So again, you're sort of heading in this direction where all these other things, these are your signs, they're leading you to here, and then there's a point where you're sort of trusting, letting go, and relinquishing, and letting it finish out the rest to complete the getting to the goals, and so on and so forth. So now this is where we get very memento, how we're reading sort of in reverse, because it's read chronologically, but I think it's important to read in reverse for the sake of understanding the information. So we have the Queen of Cups. It is in reverse, but it's actually being read upright, my spirit guide was telling me. These are more faced this way so they can show that they're leading to this. In this particular case, one of your signs is that you're going to be at a point in your life where things are going to be happening that would naturally cause you to have sort of an emotional reaction, and you just don't have it. Let me just make sure it's because you feel emotionally balanced and not because you're like numb or something. Emotionally balanced, that's what I thought. Okay, perfect. So you're just kind of in a state of mind where the same things that kind of called your attention or got to you so easily don't seem to do that. And this is something really interesting to think about in life, because sometimes, you've been through something serious, and as you've been feeling, going through it, and it causes you naturally to become more, whether this be defensive or cause you to have certain reactions. Again, all of this is very understandable. Eventually, you're working through things, life's great, you're feeling better, and then maybe a little bit of stuff starts happening again, and you're sitting there going, did I do something wrong? Is something happening? Why is this never ending? And you're not realizing that this is sort of, how do I say this? It's not like a test. It's like the universe is trying to show you, like, hey, see how this little thing happened? See how this doesn't really bother you anymore? It's like through experience and proof, you're re-reminding yourself how strong you've gotten. And it doesn't mean things are getting bad again. It's like a moment to go, oh, so everything's okay. I'm actually doing amazing, and I don't respond to these things anymore like this. And because you've overcome what previously got to you, you just are able to let those things fully go into your past for good, which is lovely. But so sometimes when things are repeating, it's not always because it's like you're not getting the lesson. Like, you're getting it. It's sort of like a one final, like, see, I really got it. I'm saying no for the final time. You know what I mean? So again, really great, really vibing, really in control and in tune with yourself, and some things are happening around you and you're just unbothered by it. So that's one sign. In addition to it, we have the Hermit card. Now this is, again, being read upright, but this is the thing that actually leads to that sense of stability internally, which is, it's a bit of isolation, but I want to explain this concept because my spirit guide said it's mostly focused on the idea of you reading more. And I said, just to be clear, I was like, could it be like a Wikipedia article? Does it have to be a book? Because everybody reads a little bit differently. And they said, yeah, I can totally include that. It's just this idea you're reading a lot. And I was given an image that sometimes like maybe you're commuting, like on a bus or something like that, or like a train, and you're reading on your phone and you're just really lost in some articles or ideas, and you're just really consumed by gathering information this way. But when we talk about isolation, in that moment, you might be surrounded by a bunch of different people, but it's this energy pull where you're really internally focused in your own personal world, your own reality. And that's how my spirit guide was referencing the sense of isolation again. So again, it's not always just that you're purely being by yourself. It's just like you're really kind of focused only on yourself and the information you're taking in, and you're in your own little private world, so to speak. So we've got you're really focused on reading, you're really feeling that nice sense of like being by yourself and gathering that information. It's leading to this sense of like calm and understanding. It's giving whatever answers that you need in order to grow as an individual, not being bothered by things. So we have that part of the signs leading to this section. But then we also have this, and it gets a little detailed because the Queen of Pentacles in this particular case is repeating twice, not only as an extra importance of the confirmation of like how important it is when it pops up, but this is being referencing to this. So the Queen of Pentacles, here's your sign right here, being referenced here. Again, this, even though it's in reverse, it's being read upright because it's just in reverse to show that it's facing this. They're guiding this way. But also to then allow and further explain more details when it comes to the Queen of Pentacles. So it's like Queen of Pentacles referring to here, but also this is like a subtext of that. So I was being told by my spirit guide that at this time with the Queen of Pentacles, your sign is you'll be very attached to the physical world, which I thought was such a unique way of putting it. I was like, attached? What do you mean? They said that you'll be really interested in like adding and creating in the physical world. It's like you're really involved in your present daily life. You're really, I don't know how to put it any other way. You're very alive. You're very aware you want to like add something to the world. I mean, this could be anything from those type of hobbies like painting, where you're physically adding something to the world. But sometimes people add ideas out into the world, and you're very much present and aware that you're doing that, and you're excited about it, and you're in tune to it. I do also want to compliment when we have a Queen of Pentacles type card. Let me just double check this real quickly with my spirit guide. Okay, cool. So Queen of Pentacles refers to somebody who's very skilled at what they do. So they know what they're doing. So, and I got confirmation that's true in this case. So yay, go you. So this shows you like you know what you're doing. You're really vibing it. You're aware that you're good at it. And again, this is that sense of leading to this. Now over here in the Seven of Cups, this is our one card that's actually being read in reverse, I was told. But this is about you needing to make a decision. And again, I love the way my spirit guide phrases things, because when you are speaking to your spirit guide or any other being from the spirit realm, they have ways of expressing themselves that might sound like they choose a choice of words that you're like, why that? Pay attention, ask questions. It's for a reason. So they said, you will make a decision that you feel is important. And I was like, ooh, interesting. Why did you say that? They said, because they feel it's important. Subtext that it might seem really important, but that doesn't mean that whatever decision you decide, there aren't more options. There aren't other important decisions to make. Like a good example is when people feel like they're having to make a big life decision towards like a career of some kind. Guess what? You can always choose another career. There will always be another job. There will always be another opportunity. There will always be another way to gain the knowledge for that job. There's always something else. So even though it does feel important, and that's sort of your reference and sign, you're in that moment of your life where you're needing to make that kind of decision, just remember that whatever decision you decide, and I'm just going to double check this is associated with the Queen of Pentacles. It is, okay, my spirit guide said it is. And it's associated with these like skills you're putting out there and everything. Just know that if you're concerned, which way do I go? Is this the right decision? Because again, when we're talking about signs on the right path, that's understandably for you and your path, you're like, which way do I go? It's like, make whatever decision you're going to make. Because in the end, there will always be options. There's no wrong decision. And listen to how beautifully this all ties back into our Nine of Wands. When we have a Queen of Pentacles, this is somebody who has a great sense of interaction and control and self-awareness that they have to be proactive in their control. Not controlling, but like in order for the thing to get made, they have to be involved. It has to happen by their own hands and their own mind and that type of thing. But then that's a totally different energy and vibe of saying like, hey, you've been, doing all of that. You're going to now step back and let it all work itself out. I know you've been in control of the idea coming to life, but now you're going to back up and know that the idea has a life of its own and it's going to come into existence by itself. Nothing else you have to do. And then I love over here because same concept. It's this sense of urgency, intensity. Which decision do I make? What's the right one? But here's the cool thing. If you decide, yes, I do want that thing, and you say yes to this option that you feel so important, guess what? Back up, let it all work itself out. It's going to work itself as it needs to. The universe has heard you. You've put in the right energy and intent toward it. Just back up and let it do its thing. You don't need to stress about it, worry about it. It's going to all work out as it needs to. But then if you decide, oh no, I think I'm going to do no on that. Am I making a mistake? What if this was it? Guess what? It's all going to work out. Another opportunity is going to present itself and you're going to take on that mindset, take on that awareness. But this will be so easy for you because while you were casually reading, and this is the great thing when it comes to reading. You could be reading about self-improvement. You could be reading about just fun facts about movies. You could be doing anything. But as you're vibing and finding your center, you're naturally growing and finding a sense of calm and inner trust and truth to yourself. And it just makes you respond to the world differently. And you sort of wake up one day and go, whoa, I feel much different than I was the day before. And then you're growing, you're working on craft, you're good at it, you know it. It's all leading to something, leading to a decision, leading to this thing that you made happen. And then all you have to do is sit back, relax. You know how to do that and just let it all work out. So I love this. This came with not only signs, but a sense of direction and understanding. And well, I'm all about that. If you enjoyed this reading, please give this video a like, a comment, a subscribe, hit that notification bell. I am wishing you the best. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And let's get ready for our final group. Group number 4. Group number 4. Let's find out what signs will show you you're on the right path by looking at the cards. We have the Four of Pentacles upright. the Four of Swords in reverse. Wait, did I say upright? Sorry. Four of Pentacles in reverse, Four of Swords in reverse. The Five of Swords in reverse. And then, sorry, the High Priestess in reverse. Okay, never mind. Okay, sorry. I was looking at the cards, and I noticed one's missing. I pulled an even amount of cards, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll just pull another card. And then my spirit guide was like, nope, you don't need to. You got enough cards. So I trust them. Give me just one moment to look at the details of the cards and consult my spirit guide. Really? Okay. Okay, let's get into this. So this is so interesting. So the first thing my spirit guide was saying was that you're going to come into a lot of money. That's one of your signs. What a fantastic sign. You're going to come into a lot of money. I said, really? Because the Four of Pentacles, especially in reverse, is not particularly known for a definitive, you're going to come into a lot of money. It just might mean that, you've chilled out. You feel like you're a little more relaxed about your perspective on money, so it makes it easier for opportunities to come your way, compared to something like the Ten of Pentacles or the Nine of Pentacles that has a much stronger, money's coming your way. And I said, really? And they said, yes. They said, you loosen your grip on it. And they were referring to, they said, you loosen your grip, you loosen your grip and you don't think this is only it. As in, when you are looking at the amount of money you currently have, you're not focused on it being, you're not over in your head just repeating, that's it, that's all I have, I gotta make it last, you're not grabbing onto it and thinking, this is all I've got left. And you're sort of chilling out in that perspective way. And as you're sort of relaxing, I'm getting a very strong image of this is such a weird sort of example, but it's let's say you're going out and you're hanging out with your loved ones or your friends or by yourself or whatever, and there's a person who's selling vending food kind of thing. What's it called when they're in the little silver trucks and they're you know what I'm talking about, vendors, they're selling pretzels or whatever they're selling. You know what I'm talking about. If you know what I'm talking about, please leave it in the comments below. But anyways, and maybe if you're a little more tight with money, you're no, I can't make those little splurges right now. It would be better if we just didn't do that. And you're in this kind of you know what, forget about it. You know what, let's get a pretzel. You know what, I've taken this too seriously. Let's get a pretzel. It's you sort of just feel suddenly in that perspective and sense of relief. And as you do, this is when a lot of money's coming your way. So we get a little bit of a hint of where you can sort of focus your perspective, but also very cool. Good. I'm so happy for you. Lots of money. In addition to that, we have the Four of Swords. Now, this is going to initially sound a little bit negative, but stick with me here. So something is going to happen that's going to force you to slow down. This could be anything. It could be not being able to, maybe you miss your flight, or you can't take your flight for whatever reason. Or maybe, your car gets a flat tire or something like that. Things that definitely, and this is the thing, I did ask, I said, is it something that's negative? And they said, and my spirit guide said, it might seem negative at first. And let me just double check that. Yeah, my spirit guide's you heard me correctly. So it's that initial, oh no, oh my gosh, and it seems like a really big deal at first. But here's the thing. You're experiencing this because you have a Four of Swords in reverse. And whenever we have a Four of Swords in reverse, this is the universe saying, you were supposed to take a break. You didn't take a break. Because you didn't take a break, we're making sure you take that break before it gets more serious. And so initially it might seem like a big deal, but everything's going to be totally okay. It's really not. And it's putting you in this wonderful position you didn't think you could be in, which was just chilling out. So money and a break. Who doesn't love this so far? Again, just know that when you first experience it, take that perspective and go towards being like, I guess I get to rest and hang out now. Because understand the part that might seem a little more like, oh no, this is inconvenient. It's really not. Everything's going to be okay. It's not a big deal. A good example, going back to that flight concept, it's like thinking like, oh no, I didn't get my flight. But then, and maybe you like missed it, and then you're like, oh no, that was a lot of money. But then like you get a lot of money in the end, and because you took enough of a break and relaxed, you're in a better mindset to travel, and then you have more money to get an even better flight. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of concept. Going up, we have the 5 of Swords in reverse, and I'm being told by my spirit guide that you're going to forgive someone that you've had issues with for a long time. Like, you'd be pretty mad at them. Let me just ask if it's mutual. My spirit guide said it's very mutual, as in like, you are aware you have issues with this other person, and they are aware that they also have their own problems, vice versa. And I said, does this have to happen in person? And my spirit guide said, no. This is something where you just sort of are like, you know what? I forgive them. I'm letting it go. I think I'm just over it. I get it. And it's sort of a sense of relaxation again. So sign again, money, something happens, you have to take a break, and forgiving this other person. And then finally, we have something very interesting. And my spirit guide kind of made a sort of big statement that I was a little like, ooh, okay, I'm down with that. So in the High Priestess in reverse, somebody is going to come to you and sort of seek you out and force their advice and opinion on you. And it's not good advice. Again, you could say, how do I know? They're going to seek you out. They're going to find you. They're going to be the one to approach you. And they're really going to be like, this is what I think. This is what you should do, and kind of push it on you. And here's the thing. It's not good advice. But your ability to be able to discern it's not is what is going to sort of make you. My spirit guide was saying something like, I'm so sorry, it just slipped my mind. It was like a big statement saying something like, this is when they know they've truly made it. Yes, that's what it was. This is when they know they've truly made it. And when they said this, because remember, when you communicate via the spirit realm and communicate with spirits, you're going to get like more than just a sentence. You're going to get like energies and visuals. It's like a whole scheme. So when statements feel very like epic, they're more than just a statement. You feel the epicness. You feel like this sense of, if you're able always to discern the truth, if you're always able to truly follow that intuition and be able to rely on yourself, but able to see it within the world, you're opening up a lot of doors, you're opening up a lot of clear paths, you're opening a lot of positions where you feel like you're making the right decision, you're going to feel safe and happy and all that good jazz, and we love that. So again, you'll be able to discern this and see it. They're going to seek it out. You're going to be able to know. This is going to be a big distinguishing point for you in the future. You're going to forgive someone. You're going to take a break. And you're going to get a lot of money. That sounds pretty rad. I'm loving that for you. So if you enjoyed this reading, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe. I am wishing you the best. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Goodbye.